Where in the world is Church World Service? And when you walk the talk, can you do that on the crop walk? Our subject for today's Austin Faith Dialogue. Please join us.
Austin Faith Dialogue, at the crossroads of religion and life. A series highlighting the cultural and social interactions between the worshiping and religious communities in and around the capital city. Austin Faith Dialogue is brought to you by the Austin Metropolitan Ministries in cooperation with KXAN. Join us now in Austin Faith Dialogue.
Hello, I'm Richard Thompson of Austin Metropolitan Ministries, welcoming you to this edition of Austin Faith Dialogue. And today we're going to be having a special look at a very special organization, not only in our area but throughout the nation, called Church World Service, and its best known activity locally as the Crop Walk. In the first half, we're going to be interviewing the director of the Church World Service regionally, Howard Hartman.
Good to be here with you, Rich.
Howard, it's great to have you again. I know
Sure.
we've had you on Austin Faith Dialogue before, and it's good to have you come back and update us on what's been going on with your organization in recent years.
Be happy to.
Tell us about 1997. What's the latest?
Well, 1997 marks our 50th anniversary. We've been having some exciting celebrations in local communities across the state as individuals are wanting to help to celebrate 50 years of help and hope for Church World Service.
Okay,
47.
47, and right after World War II it got started.
That's correct.
But what were some of the origins of the organization?
Oh, it was the program in those days was a commodity effort where farmers were being encouraged to contribute the extra commodities that they had. Here in Texas, they were contributing maize and cotton, wheat, rice. So it was actually a food and fiber program in many of those early years. Unique about Church World Service and crop in those early years also was the fact it was interdenominational. And it was one of the first ecumenical expressions in which the Roman Catholic Church participated with Church World Service and Lutheran World Relief. So organizations that are still active in relief and development work today were some of our partners even in those days as well.
I see. We have one of your posters that shows Church World Service as something that is obviously connected with work in all parts of the globe. Give us a little bit of a sense of the reach of that program today.
Church World Service is involved, in fact, in over 70 countries across the globe, and the poster helps to illustrate some of that, and also the importance that we place upon development. For many years, we were a relief organization, and where that's needed, we provide that as well. But more so, we're trying to address some of the root causes of hunger as it might exist in a local community. That might mean helping to build a well for a community or teaching better agricultural techniques that would work more successfully in their area.
Sort of following up on the idea that better to teach them when to fish and give them the means of doing that rather than just to feed them temporarily.
That's right. A lot of the work that we're doing in Bosnia today is implementing that in a very successful manner in what we call microcredit programs, or some refer to that as microenterprise. It's an effort whereby we're giving small grants to individuals, entrepreneurs, so that they're able to implement the programs in their own area.
So Bosnia in Europe, what are some of the other places that
I had the exciting opportunity to visit Bosnia last November, along with a trip to Armenia. So those are fresh on my mind as places. Most recently, we're beginning work in Democratic People's Republic of Korea, North Korea.
Oh, is that
working together with the Christian churches as they have united themselves there. And we recently had a delegation go for the arrival of our Church World Service rice shipment to make sure that it was being distributed in a proper manner there within the country.
I understand in that particular country you've got almost an edge of starvation situation.
Yes, the World Food Organization recognizes North Korea as the most severe as far as food shortage of any country in the world, even surpassing that in Africa, many of the countries there. So the malnutrition is very evident in the area, but also now, unfortunately, starvation. They've had 3 years of floods that have impacted their rice harvests, and we're in there trying to provide some of the relief supplies. And also, they're hoping to be able to double plant their barley crop, and we hope to be able to bring in some barley that they can plant.
This is in Africa you're speaking?
No, in North Korea.
In North Korea,
Yeah.
okay. Well, the thing is that you've talked about emergency relief kind of response, and then you've talked about like digging wells that goes beyond that to longer term helping folks out. And is that a kind of a double purpose of what?
Double purpose. We are also involved in advocacy and education. We think that there are actually the four that need to go together, of relief and development, and also our responsibilities as Christians in advocating for proper policies of our government. And that's the advocacy work, and we're also involved in global education activities as well.
So that's your fourth purpose.
The fourth is
the
global education.
Okay. One of the things in Texas that I was struck by is you were telling me that one of the founders of CROP back 50 years ago in this part of the country was the father of Sissy Spacek.
That is actually her uncle, Elmore Rural, last name, middle name of Rural.
Oh, is her
Torn,
uncle? Oh, yeah.
the father of Rip Torn, the actor.
Okay.
And we invited Sissy to be a part of our anniversary effort, and she accepted serving as our state anniversary chairperson.
Okay. And we have a little video clip that we want to look at in
Yeah,
terms
she
of...
was helpful in doing a public service announcement that was distributed by satellite and downlink to TV stations across the state.
Oh, really?
And also radio stations. We sent PSAs to over 700 stations in Texas.
Okay. Well, let's take a look at that now and see what it looks like.
All right.
I'm Sissy Spacek. In 1946, thousands of Texans helped send grain and livestock to hungry people in war-ravaged Europe. My family was among those Texans. Today, we continue the tradition of Help and Hope through Church World Service, CROP. By joining in your local CROP walk, you can help stop hunger around the block and around the world. For more information, please call Church World Service CROP.
Okay, good. That's what you were saying in terms of her helping you out and...
Recognizing her family's involvement as well in that public service announcement and wanting to carry that on after 50 years. So she got involved and was very helpful in a variety of ways in helping us to celebrate our anniversary.
Okay. You've been doing that celebration here in Austin just in the last few days. Tell us about that.
Well, we had our executive director of Church World Service, Reverend Dr. Rodney Page, visiting. It was his presentation actually was a part of the Texas Conference of Churches Assembly, which was held there at the Omni Hotel South. It was really a delightful evening, helping to recognize the 50th of Church World Service. And I think also important was our recognition of the many volunteers who have given of their efforts over these last 50 years. It was a rather exhaustive effort trying to identify as many people as we could, trying to go back into our archives and get that information. And I hope that we've done an appropriate manner of that research to recognize the people that really make the events happen and our ministry a success here in Texas.
What kind of a turnout did you have?
Well, there were over 200 people that were attending the banquet. And of those present, I think we recognized around 60 or 70. And others were there present for the TCC assembly.
Let's go back to a minute just to the thought of how we had people in Texas that were in on the ground floor of Church World Service, and Sissy Spacek's uncle, one of these. And what specifically did Thorn do to help out at the beginning?
I've understood from even speaking with members of his family how organization was really a gift that he shared. He was helpful as our first Texas crop director from 1949 to 1950 out of offices in Taylor, Texas, helping to organize the Church World Service crop program here in the area. So that was the real gift that he shared, was using his organizational skills, administrative skills, to develop a statewide network upon which we were able to build.
And today you coordinate work throughout the Lone Star State. How many local chapters are there?
Texas is my parish, and I get out across the four corners of Texas and involved in a lot of ministry. Last year we had crop walks held in 70 different communities across the state, from Odessa over to Texarkana, from up in the Panhandle and Canyon down to Brownsville. We have 3 successful crop walks in the lower Rio Grande Valley: Brownsville, McAllen, and Edinburgh. Some of the poorest areas of our state that people there know the needs of others and are willing to reach out. They have successful events in those areas.
So what kind of money are you talking about having been raised?
Last year we raised $457,000 in our crop walks. The other kinds of fundraising that we do, we came in 1996 with having raised over $607,000. That means a lot to the lives of people around the world and people in the local communities. Part of the funds that are raised in a crop walk can be retained in the local community, meeting needs there in the area. And so last year, over $100,000 brought back for hunger needs within Texas.
And locally, what in the Austin area, what did that translate into?
Austin's crop walk last year raised $85,000. Rich, the Austin crop walk has the distinction of last year being the 8th largest crop walk in the nation.
Oh, really?
So we have a real success on our hands here. We sure invite people to come out and be a part of that effort and continue to make it a success that it's been over these last several years.
I see. And the second half of the show, we're going to be having a couple of the folks that have been involved in this for some time in the Austin area. But before we do that, I think we have another poster that gives us a little bit of a warm-up toward that point, and that shows 50 years of help and hope, help stop hunger. And the Church World Service is, without that, there wouldn't be any crop walk. I mean, that's one of your most important activities, isn't it?
The crop program is a major contributor to the efforts of Church World Service. We receive funding from the member denominations, 34 denominations united together today, that reach out to be effective in their work and ministry. We receive part of our funds from the U.S. government, but a large portion is coming from community appeals, where individuals in the local pews and in the offices and factories of America are able to contribute to our efforts.
Well, Howard, you certainly contribute to our well-being and our enlightenment today by being on this edition of Austin Faith Dialogue.
Pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you for coming again.
Thank you.
We'll look forward to hearing from some of the local folks right after this break. Thank you for tuning in, and stay with us. Okay, we are in the process of getting prepared for our second half, and as we do that, we're looking at two of our folks here from the local area involved in the Austin Crop Walk. We have a young person with us from LBJ High School, Liz Wise, who's been walking for some time in this, and also Bill Renfro, who's the local coordinator of the Crop Walk. And I'd like to say, Liz, before the show, I was just utterly amazed to find out that you're how old?
I'm 16.
Okay. And how many crop walks have you been on?
The one on March 2nd will be my 17th.
Now, that is something I have been pondering ever since you told me. Unless you're just, walking 2 or 3 times a year, how did that come about?
Well, my mother took me on the walk basically before I was born, and I've been doing every walk since then.
I see. You were walking even before you knew it.
Basically, yes.
Uh-huh. And then as you grew a little older and were able to walk yourself, didn't you tell me that you were pushing your little brother?
Well, once my little brother was born, I got out and I got to push the stroller, and it made my mother very nervous, I'm afraid, but I got out and I pushed the stroller.
I see. Well, I think that you're the first person that I've talked to that has walked under those circumstances. I want to congratulate you for your longevity and your interest. Bill, how long have you been doing this?
I've been involved in the crop walk since it started up again. This is our 19th, and 19 years ago I was involved with the crop walk.
And was there a period that it wasn't going on and it started up again recently?
That's right. It's my understanding that, I don't know if it was in the 70s, early 70s, that there were a couple of walks in Austin. Primarily started as a trick-or-treat program.
Oh, really?
During Halloween, you'd trick-or-treat for a crop. Something that Howard forgot to mention, the crop program in the early years was relief for war-torn Europe, particularly the refugee relief.
Really?
Yeah.
I see. Right after World War II.
Right, and that's how it began, the commodities being sent over overseas to help with that. So we funded it. I understand, I was young then, but we would trick-or-treat for crop, and then we began developing the walks and local programs like that.
Mm-hmm. You got a couple of more posters here. Let's look at one right now. As you talk about that, here it says join the crop walk, and when is the date on that, by the way?
March 2nd.
March the 2nd. And where do you walk?
We start at the Fiesta Gardens, that fenced-in area there on east of I-35, Longtown Lake.
Mm-hmm.
And
What time of day?
It starts at 2:30, the walk itself. Registration is 1:45.
Mm-hmm. So it's on a Sunday afternoon.
Right.
People come in and register, and then they, on your mark, get set, go. How long is the walk?
It's 5 kilometers this year. People can walk any distance, 1 kilometer, 10 kilometers, whatever they feel like.
And
But
what they
it's
do is they get somebody to sponsor them for each kilometer?
Not anymore. It's just a sponsor donation for the walk.
Uh-huh.
And we don't go by kilometer anymore.
I see. Well, what is 5 kilometers anyway?
It's 3.1 miles.
See, now you go to LBJ High School. You're into science and math. That's how you know all of that. Thank you for helping us there. Need to be up to speed on this. What is it that leads you to do this year after year? I mean, that's a long ways to walk.
Well, I'm involved in athletics, and in previous years it's actually been 10 kilometers, which is 6.2 miles, the same distance as other races.
Uh-huh.
And it was a lot longer, and in past years they've added the 5K walk and they've added a 1K walk, but I'm not sure if that's still going on this year. But they had to shorten it this year just because time constraints. But it's an activity you can get out and see everybody out on the hike and bike trail and just enjoy yourself.
Mm-hmm. And you mean you have fun doing it, is one reason.
Of course.
As well as raising some funds to help some folks that are in need. Yes, Bill?
We have varying distances for varying ages, too. or some people are only capable of actually doing 1 kilometer. We have varying ages from well over 100 to 2.
Are people who are not into this world yet, but soon to be.
Right. So whatever distance they want to go, that's
Right.
fine. And we feel that the people who pledge are pledging for the event itself and what the event does, and they aren't concerned really about how far the people walk.
So what's the use that the money's put to in Austin? What kind of money are you talking about?
We're talking about, we're shooting for 100,000 this year
In Austin?
in Austin.
No kidding.
Right. As a matter of fact, this is the 50th anniversary. This is also the year that Austin will top $1 million in the 19 years that we've done.
I see. If you make the 100,000, it will.
No, we're only about 30 to 40,000 short
Oh, I see.
of $1 million.
Okay.
So we know
You will
that we'll
for sure
top.
top that. Yeah.
So anybody who's been involved in it has contributed to the $1 million that we're going to
And where
realize this year.
where will that money be going locally? We heard Howard in the first half talk about
Yeah, the
internationally.
75% goes internationally. Locally, I'll have to get my list out because it's a pretty involved list. 25% goes directly to Austin, and we have chosen several agencies that will go to in 3 areas of concentration. That is emergency relief, self-development, and refugee assistance. Our emergency relief portion will go to Project Phase, communities.
Which is a work with young folks who have run away from home, I understand.
Right, homeless and transient youth.
Yeah.
Communities in school food pantry, community involvement with the schools, Capital Area Food Bank, that's a pretty well-known organization. The self-development will go to Foundation for the Homeless, Interfaith Hospitality Network. That's a network of area congregations that join together and provide homes and foods for persons in need. The Austin Community Gardens Green Spot program is in low-income areas and also targets the elderly. That's a self-development program also. And the Sustainable Food Center. The third category, refugee assistance, will go to Casa Marianela, which is a refugee program, and Refugee Services of Austin, Travis County.
Well, that's interesting because each category that you mentioned tracks with what Howard talked about, that you've
That's
got the emergency relief kinds of things, you've got the self-development, and then you've got the refugees, right. Now, there are crop walks in the vicinity other than in Austin.
Right.
What are those other places?
Taylor is going to have a walk also March 2nd, as well as Burnett, March 2nd. Lockhart will have one March 16th, and Georgetown will have one March 23rd.
And someone was saying, is that in Sun City? The new development out there.
Right.
If people want to see what that new place is like, they could do it by means of doing the crop walk.
I'd like to say that Austin, being the premier walk in Texas, has actually fostered several of these other walks. We will have people work on our committee here in Austin. Then, as with the Methodist Church, they might be appointed in other communities, and so a crop walk will spring up. And in fact, we had a person who was on our committee go to San Antonio and rejuvenate their efforts, and it's one of the largest in Texas now.
I see. Well, that's been a good influence beyond the locality then.
Right.
We, I think, have still another poster. I mean, there are all kinds of of little images here to give us a sense of walk safely. Does that mean that you want to watch your step, Liz, as you're taking this walk? Are you crossing busy intersections? Where is it that you give us just a little picture of where it starts and where it goes?
Well, it starts at Fiesta Garden down by Town Lake, and we walk on the hike and bike trail. So it's a nice gravel thing to walk on. And basically the walk safely is just remember to drink water and take a break if you need it. And also just remember the people that you're walking for, the people in other countries who have to walk those 3 miles or whatever to get water every day.
Ah, in other words, it's kind of empathizing with those that you're seeking to help with the condition that they're in.
And don't run around in Brody with your little brother in the stroller, too. Walk safely with him.
If you're going to push a stroller, walk safely for sure.
Yeah, right.
Okay, and there's a logo that I've seen for years. I want to look at this just for a minute. That I think is one of the best simple messages. Help crop stop hunger. It's not a stop sign, but a crop sign.
Right.
And I think that's the one thing that seems to run throughout all that you're doing. It's all pertaining to food and the relief of hunger or the development of folks that they can take care of themselves in that regard. And have you learned things about people and their needs that you wouldn't have known otherwise through this participation?
Well, we've learned a lot of things. Every year on the walk, they have posters up that give information about different agencies and different things. This year, I think they're trying to give us information about how we can write our Congress people and get them to help stop hunger in the United States and internationally in Congress. So
this is a particularly important year to do that, I think, because we know that the food stamp program is going to be ending before too long, I guess 3 to 5 years sort of thing, and that the risk of hunger for children is really acute. And this nation, it'll really be something if we, for any reason, can't provide as people are hoping for. And I think the one thing we want to do for sure is to get the number up on the monitor here as to how people can, there we've got it, they can call this, can you read that?
451-2062.
See, your eyes are better than mine. And like to also say that I hope that as people watch this of all ages, I mean, we've got the young folks and some of the older folks, Bill, represented on this show today.
Yes, I finally have to admit it.
I mean, you can be any age and participate in this.
There are a
And
couple of
we can't have time for a couple of things, but just one quick response.
okay, information. There is an alternative walk, 9 o'clock Saturday morning, the first, the same place, and this is a community-wide event and interfaith event.
Okay, thank you for that additional note, and thank you both, Liz and Bill, for being here. Thank you, folks, for joining us on this particular edition of Austin Faith Dialogue, and be with us again next week. Peace be with you, and good day. So.